Tour of Northern India and Kathmandu. Traveling to the cities of Delhi, Kathmandu, Varanasi, Khajuraho, Orcha, Agra, and Jaipur. Our hotel in Delhi. Humayun's tomb was built in the 1560s by his wife, the Empress. This toilet is a challenge for senior Western tourists. Isa Khan's garden tomb. See the wild parakeets. The Red Fort in Delhi. An exciting rickshaw ride. In Canada, we worry about the safety of pipelines. Look overhead. It truly is an electrician's nightmare. A famous delicacy of the area. It's very, very sweet. In the distance you can see the Jama Masjid Mosque where we are heading. This is the largest mosque in India and it was built in the 1650s by the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan. As every homeowner knows, constant upkeep is required. Women are required to be completely covered. Returning the used gowns and booties. The Gandhi Memorial at Rajghat. A number of school groups are visiting the Qutub Minar, a National Heritage Site. the tomb of Iltutmish, built in 1235 AD. Some ceiling detail. The tower is 73 meters tall and was built in 1193. The last upper part was added in the 1300s. Our hotel in Kathmandu. Shopping in Kathmandu. Since it is so close to Mount Everest, many of the shops have camping gear. Dinner in the evening at the Garden of Dreams. The food was delicious. We are going on an early morning flight to see Mount Everest. We were amazingly lucky with the weather conditions. As we were leaving, the clouds were rolling in. Cockpit crew were great and knew how to get the best shots. The stupa in Kathmandu. A huge prayer wheel. Inside a Buddhist temple. Inside the little red windows are prayer wheels which passerbys can give a spin.
That's not good.
Children of all ages have fun playing with the pigeons. We visited an art school where painters are very painstakingly creating masterpieces. The pigments are created by crushing rocks and then adding oil.
And suddenly, what happened that one day, she dreamed of white elephant. I'm not talking about this particular painting. all these stories is same.
This area was badly affected by the earthquake in 2015, and many of the buildings are propped up. Many buildings are being restored. It's a huge job. Many school groups are here celebrating. Funeral rites are being conducted on the banks of the Bagmati, which is a tributary of the Ganges. This looks like a pretty precarious place to be painting. A dinner theater with singing and dancing, depicting many cultural events. A rainy morning start to visiting the monkey stupa at the top of the hill. On such a rainy morning, there are no children playing in this playground. Again, we see evidence of earthquake damage. These little girls are marrying the Buddha. This does not interfere with normal marriage later. A guard at the palace. It was a cold, very rainy day. Visiting a singing bowl factory. I don't know whether this is good or bad for a headache. The vibrations are causing the water to bubble up. The museum in Kathmandu. at the airport preparing to leave Kathmandu. It's a very tricky airport to fly into because there are mountains all around. We were very lucky to be upgraded to business class. Wow, this is how the rich live. Arriving in Varanasi. The Archaeological Museum at Sarnath. The Sarnath Temple, with murals depicting the many aspects of the life of Buddha. This little piece of metal to prop your foot against to keep you from falling out was referred to as your seat belt. We are on our way to witness the holy Hindu Aarti ceremony at the riverside steps of the Ganges. These twin towers are water treatment plants. There were many of these along the river. Also along the river there were a number of funeral pyres. Back at our hotel, we were very lucky to encounter a wedding celebration. Next morning, we went back to the bank of the Ganges for a wonderful sunrise cruise. Morning ablutions. The sun is now visible in the hazy morning air. Lots of people are getting a bright early morning start to their day. Some happy family fun. Gathering wood for another funeral pyre. This is the one and only snake charmer that we saw. The women often carry heavy loads on their heads. A 5-star restaurant. Our hotel in Khajuraho. This temple was built in the 900s CE and is dedicated to a form of Vishnu, a Hindu god. There are many structures on the site and they are decorated with intricate carvings, some of which are quite erotic. Most of the buildings have been beautifully restored. However, this is an example of some of the mishmash of pieces they had to deal with. This is a site of some Jain temples. Jainism is an offshoot of Hinduism. This little puppy is one of the many dogs that wander about quite inobtrusively. We are now en route to Orcha. The dining room in Orcha where we had our lunch. Also in Orcha is an historic palace. At the top of this building you can see some blue tiles. The building was once covered in these gorgeous blue tiles. Some examples of the interior designs. You can see they are being restored. This toilet was very innovative for its time. It also required a water system. Restoration is a huge ongoing industry. These are a few of the workers. Sunset in Orcha. We are catching the evening train in Jhansi, which will take us to Agra. It is morning at the Agra Fort. The gateway to the fort and palace. Note the henna designs on her hand. Carving and inlay work, similar to what we saw later at the Taj Mahal. Precious and semi-precious stones are used for the inlay. The entrance gate to the Taj Mahal. These workers are doing inlay work.
Cornelian, that's one of the beloved stone of the Lady of the Touch. A specialty of that is glows illuminate by the touch of light. That's why in our local language we say that's a fire stone.
Some of the stones that they are using are onyx, jasper, malachite, and lapis. A farm near a poorer section of Agra. These dried discs of dung are used as fuel on funeral pyres. The handprint identifies the woman who made it. Women are not allowed at the cremation site, so these discs show their respect. The government has recently introduced clean water pumps. A visit to a school class. These men are making parts for sneakers. A place of worship in a disadvantaged neighborhood. The Taj Mahal in the distance at sunset. En route to Jaipur, we stopped at this palace for lunch. Some interesting and decorative items for sale at a shop along the way. Arriving in Jaipur.
Just put it down slowly. Put it down. Pound it. Oh, strong. Yes. Look at the inside of the trunk. Bring it down slowly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, very good. That's it. That's it. Have a look. Voila.
Ah, he didn't move too bad.
Yeah. Now the quality what he's making here, this is 9 by 9 on centimeter. 9. I'm telling in centimeter because it's easy, but it's hard what you see him doing. That's a real hard wash to check the strength of the knots. The final finishing is mostly, it's all done by the ladies. And now you feel it. Just feel yourself. Two ladies you see there, they are checking design. The last one there, she's tying the tassel.
This market has every sort of vegetable imaginable. It is a crowded, exciting place. We rode up to the palace in style on an elephant. The elephant had a gently swaying gait. We got a terrific view of the countryside on the way up. The palace is well situated to view any incoming raiders. The women of the palace are screened from view but can observe events through this peephole. The wall at the top shows what a good defensive position this palace is in. Our group had a wonderful dinner at the palace. The City Palace Museum.